Please consider dating me with marriage in mind. The one who confessed so passionately was Tom, whom I met through a friend's introduction. He was 3 years younger than me, and he told me he had fallen in love with me at first sight. Since I was also thinking it was about time to consider marriage, I accepted his proposal and we got married a year later. My name is Emily. I've always admired living abroad, and now I work for a multinational company at the age of 34. My husband, Tom, is younger but is the type that takes leadership. And it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he's quite the traditional domineering husband. However, I actually didn't mind that. Having lived alone for a long time, doing household chores was normal for me, and I didn't find it painful, plus I enjoy cooking. So Tom hardly does any housework, and I take care of it by myself. When we go out, Tom leads the way, so I can enjoy myself without thinking about anything. I think we have a pretty good balance. Things started to change when my mother passed away. During work, I got a call from my dad saying my mother, who had a chronic illness, had collapsed. I had hurried out and arrived at the hospital in about 2 hours to say my final goodbye to her. When I stayed at my parents' house for the funeral and contacted Tom, he said he couldn't come on such short notice because of work. And he didn't make it to the wake. He did come to the funeral, but apparently, he couldn't prepare his mourning clothes himself, and after I hastily arranged a rental. He complained that I should have prepared it from the start. Amidst my grief and busyness, I brushed off his complaints, but it seemed Tom didn't like that and was in a bad mood the whole time. Since then, it feels like we've had more arguments even after coming home. Well, I guess it's normal to have some fights after being married for 3 years, but lately, Tom has been particularly confrontational. Still the traditional head of the household, he keeps telling me to prepare this and do that, and though I've refused out of annoyance. He doesn't know where anything is, so even preparing for his own business trips takes a long time. Moreover, he messes up the house while complaining, leaving a trail of clutter. Eventually, I realized it's easier for me to just do it rather than cleaning up after him, so I'm not exactly being submissive. But I've been taking care of most of the chores. The first anniversary of Mom's passing is next week, so I'm going to prepare for it. When I said that, Tom responded in an annoyed tone. Oh, I have an important meeting on that day. What should I do? Even though I had mentioned it well in advance, I don't understand why he would say such a thing. What? You mean you're not going? At that, Tom let out an exaggerated sigh. It's not like that, but it's going to be tough giving instructions to my subordinates, you know? He had been promoted recently and seemed happy to have subordinates, mentioning them to me at every opportunity. I feel like sighing myself. Anyway, please remember. I emphasized my request. And then, on the eve of the first anniversary. When I came home from work, Tom was sulking in the living room, drinking beer. Sorry, I'm late. I got caught up with overtime. He must be upset because I was late returning and dinner would be delayed. I've been waiting for over an hour, you know. Just as I thought. But it's only an hour. If he can't make anything himself, he could have bought something. I did inform him what time I would return, so he could have done something himself. Suppressing the urge to say this, I offered him the takeout I had bought. I thought it would be too late if I cooked, so I bought this instead. Then, Tom slammed his beer glass down. These again? Haven't you been cutting corners a bit too much lately? Again? The last time I bought a takeout was about half a month ago. Indeed, I've been busy lately, and the meals have been simple, but I've been mindful of nutritional balance and hardly ever bought ready-made food. So, his complaint seemed unjustified. As I pondered whether to argue back, Tom, perhaps misunderstanding something, pressed further. You can't say anything because it's true, right? Take care of the household properly. Lately, you've been coming home late. Saying you have overtime. Are you having an affair or something? Tom shouted that in anger. At his words, all the frustration I had been holding back exploded. Enough is enough. If I'm coming home late, there's nothing wrong if you prepare dinner. Since you can't cook, it's okay to buy takeout or some ready-made dishes, right? I always let you know when I'll be late, and I'm even doing your share of the housework. So how can you say such things? Then, Tom glared at me. Huh? You're 3 years older than me, you know? I could have married someone in their 20s, but I chose to marry you, who's older. You should be grateful and at least do that much. Without me, who else would take you? You'd be in trouble if I left you, right? How could he say that? I was so furious that I couldn't hold back anymore. Then go ahead and marry a younger girl. When we were dating and even before we got married, I asked you if it was okay that I was older, didn't I? You said it was fine, that's why we got married. It's not like I needed you to take me, I would have been fine on my own. Tom sneered at my words. Do whatever you want. I want a divorce. With that, Tom took his beer and food and went to his room. We've had fights before, but this was something else. This is just too much hassle. For now, I decided to eat the food and calm myself down. He must have been irritated because he was hungry. That's what I thought as I filled my stomach, but the feeling wouldn't subside. Tomorrow is the first anniversary of my mom's passing, and this is just trouble. After some time, I called out from outside Tom's room. We're leaving at 8 tomorrow, so I'll wake you up around 7. There was no response, but I could sense he was awake, so he must have heard me. With that, I went to sleep. The next morning, when I got up early, Tom was already gone. The luggage I had prepared was still in the room. It didn't seem like he had left before me. Where had he disappeared to? He wouldn't answer his phone. And there was no reply to my messages. With no other choice, I left a voicemail and prepared to leave by myself. I finally got through to Tom while waiting for the train at the platform. I've decided to attend the meeting, I can't leave it to my subordinates. As soon as he answered, he said that, and I was taken aback. Wait a minute. But my voice was drowned out by the noise of the train, and the call ended. Feeling a mix of anger and resignation, I stood there dumbfounded. But before I could think any further, the train arrived. Carrying luggage for 2, I boarded the train. When I arrived at my parents' house, my dad asked with concern. Where's Tom? I didn't want to worry my dad, who had already been down since my mom passed away. Taking a deep breath, I managed a smile. Sorry, he said he had an important meeting. He was going to come, but with his recent promotion, it seems like a critical meeting. So I told him to go ahead and attend it. My dad nodded understandingly. I see, he's working hard. It's a shame we can't see him, but your mom would understand. Tell him to visit anytime. His words made my heart ache, but I managed to keep smiling. The day went by without any word from Tom, and I didn't reach out either, letting the night pass. I planned to stay at my parents' house tonight and return home tomorrow. That was the plan in the first place, so there was no need to contact Tom. Still, he was probably sulking, so maybe tomorrow I'll make his favorite hamburger. With that thought, I fell asleep. The next day, I left my parents' house and returned home around noon. I decided to go shopping after setting down my luggage, and entered the living room to place my things. As expected, the laundry was left untouched. Sighing at the thought that he still couldn't use the washing machine, I threw the neglected laundry in with mine and started a load. Taking a moment to breathe, I returned to the living room and noticed something on the table. Approaching it, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was a note that mentioned divorce. Why? I stared intently at the note. Is he saying we should get a divorce? I pulled out my phone from my bag. It should be his lunch break around this time. I wasn't sure if Tom would answer, but to my surprise, he picked up immediately. Tom? What does this mean? He laughed on the other end of the line. What do you mean? It's exactly what it says. Who needs a wife who doesn't do housework and is older, right? That's why I said divorce. Without you, I can remarry someone younger. After all, a wife is a status symbol, right? With you being older, I can't even boast about you to others. When my subordinates ask about my wife, it's hard to dodge the question. I was speechless at his reasoning. I had no words to return. If you don't want a divorce, then do your housework properly. I'll be home as usual today, so buy some beer. If you don't like it, take that paper to the city court. It's all the same to me. With that, the call ended. I couldn't utter a single word of protest before the call ended. This must be what being at a loss for words feels like. Tom probably thought I would comply if he said that. I was just tired of asking and pleading for him to do things. But Tom must have thought I was doing the housework because I didn't want to be separated from him or abandoned. He must have thought I wouldn't stand up to him because he was the head of the household. Sometimes people envy me for having a younger husband, but really, there's nothing noteworthy about him, so saying he's younger is just convenient. He's average in looks, personality, and income, with nothing distinctive about him, so mentioning he's younger was a handy descriptor. I was concerned about our age difference when we got married, but now we're both in our 30s, and the age gap is just 3 years. If he were significantly younger, I might feel more affectionate. But being constantly referred to as the older wife by someone nearly my age is unpleasant. I decided to pack up and leave promptly. I felt a sense of relief. I thought we were having a fairly good life, but that's over now. I can live without Tom. With that realization, I felt incredibly liberated and called my boss to take a few days off. Fortunately, it was just after the busy period, so I was allowed to take about a week off. Since I'm getting divorced, I'll have to sort out my belongings. I didn't have much stuff, so packing was quick. I stored large items in a rental room, loaded my car with clothes and essentials, and on a whim, drove to a hot spring resort. It seemed to be the off-season for inns, so I easily booked a room at a low price and drove there excitedly. While enjoying the hot springs and relaxing in my room, my phone rang. Emily. Didn't I tell you to buy beer today? Where are you? It's time that Tom gets home. Hearing his words, I suddenly remembered and couldn't help but laugh. I'm at a hot spring right now. What? A hot spring? Why? What do you mean? Well, you're the one who said it's divorce if I don't like it, right, Tom? Imagining my ex-husband's flustered state made me laugh even more. Wait, you took that seriously? Yes, of course. Why? Because you're the one who said we should get a divorce, Tom. Have you already forgotten what happened a few hours ago? Then I heard a clearly flustered voice. Hey, you're joking, right? You're just at a spa or something, right? Then I'll go get some takeout, so come back home early. His sudden change in tone, acting like a kind husband, made me unable to stop laughing. It's about an hour and a half by car. There's an open-air bath, and it's really nice. You going out to buy your own meal? What a surprise. I've moved out all my stuff so I won't have to come back, so do as you please with your life. Tom was desperately pleading for me to come back. But, of course, I had no intention of returning. You're the one who said we should get divorced, are you stupid? It's so obvious you were trying to use divorce as a threat to make me comply. I told you, I can live without you. Now you can divorce the old wife and go marry a younger one, if you can manage that. Tom fell completely silent. I think it's none of my business, but you should really consider moving out of that apartment soon. It was then that Tom finally spoke. Why? His voice was almost a whisper. Because, think about your income. If you keep living there, you'll go bankrupt soon. From now on, you'll have to outsource cleaning, laundry, and cooking, or eat out, right? That will cost money, and if most of your salary goes to rent, won't you be in trouble? You used to say you were supporting me, but my salary is almost double yours. I never thought I was supporting you, but if anything, I was the one supporting. Also, you act all bossy because you got one subordinate, but did you know I have more subordinates? And even more under them? I didn't talk much about work because Tom would get in a bad mood, but in terms of position and salary, I was higher. Living together, you'd think he would have noticed, but it seemed like he was only just realizing it. With his high pride and patriarchal attitude, Tom might have been maintaining his self-esteem by looking down on me. Now that he can't look down on me anymore, he must be feeling down. In a way, I shredded his pride as a payback for everything. The reason I did the housework and didn't say anything against your patriarchal attitude was partly because I was being lenient since you're younger, and also because it was too much trouble to ask you to do anything because you're so hopeless at housework. It's not because I couldn't manage without you. I was just taking care of your chores along with mine. So, naturally, when you said it's divorce if I don't do them, I chose divorce. That's why we're strangers now. Goodbye. Having said all I wanted, I hung up. Feeling refreshed, I savored the inn's cuisine. Later, as expected, Tom reached out wanting to reconcile, but I cheerfully told him, I'm older, so I can't go back to you. Probably, younger women didn't pay him any attention. Tom seemed to have given up and cancelled the apartment lease. For the property division, I had a lawyer step in and demanded more considering I had been burdened with housework. Tom, trying to save costs, didn't hire a lawyer, so the settlement was largely in my favor. It turns out Tom's only subordinate was complaining about his poor guidance and didn't see him as a boss, which caused more trouble when Tom found out. It's important to take care of your subordinates. As for me, there had been talks about working at the overseas headquarters for a while. Formerly, I had declined them, not wanting to inconvenience Tom, but now I decided to accept it. I'm currently preparing for the transition. I've caused my dad some worry, but we've started practicing FaceTime so we can easily stay in touch even when I'm abroad. I'm satisfied that I will be doing the job I've always dreamed of since I was young. I'm ready to give it my all.